Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to be looking at Cinderace VMAX. Those VMAXs have gone and been revealed. So we need to have a little bit of a chat about Cinderace. Though like I told you in the Rillaboom video I showed you recently, we've already seen the Pokemon V. It is different artwork, but it is confirmed as the exact same card that we saw coming in the tins. I'm not going to go into detail about Cinderace V. What I will do is link my video about Cinderace V in the description, so you can go and find out more about that bad boy at your leisure. And I should also mention our translations come from the lovely Matthew Varive at Immunity over on Twitter. So what does it do? We've got 320 HP, which is high, though not quite on the higher end for a Pokemon VMAX. We've got a retreat cost of 2, which is not ideal, but then again, we've always got balloons, so it could be worse. We got a weakness to water, which is probably going to be an issue with Frostmoth. Frostmoth looks like it's going to be amazing, and Frostmoth lets you accelerate water energy, so that means that literally any water deck you can think of will become significantly better because of Frostmoth, which makes your weakness less than ideal. But your typing is fire, which means you can accelerate energy using Welder. You can search energy from your deck using Giant Hearth or Fiery Flint. You can get it from your discard pile using Fire Crystal. It means you've got Heat Factory, Prism Star for a little bit of extra consistency. And it also means you're hitting weakness on Rillaboom stuff, which could also be kind of cool. My point here, good time to be a fire Pokemon. But what does it do? Well, the first attack here is a very interesting one. It does 30 damage base. But if this Pokemon was damaged during your opponent's last turn, you do that much damage along with the original 30. So it's kind of like a revenge attack, which is not something we really know Cinderace for. Now, the good news is, right, you got 320 HP. 320 HP is gigantic. And what that means is that it's unlikely that your opponent is going to get a one-hit KO. Now, if they're playing Water decks, think something like Lapras VMAX, obviously they will be able to get a one-hit KO. No one's arguing they're not getting a one-hit KO with Lapras VMAX. Or pretty much any other water Pokemon. But let's say, for argument's sake, they've got something like Reshiram and Charizard. Well, Reshiram and Charizard can do 230 for 4 energy. Sounds good, right? That's 90 damage away from getting a KO here. That's not even that close. Oh. Well, that's slightly upsetting. And then you'll do 260 back, and remember that Vitality Band is a thing which lets you do an extra 10, so if they hit you for 230, you'll get a one-hit KO back with Vitality Band. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. What if they use their GX attack with 6 energy? They do 300 damage. Yeah, that's still not enough. Even if they use Vitality Band, that's 310. That's not enough damage. And sure, they could use something like Galarian Zigzagoon to drop an extra damage counter and get the KO, but that is not something we usually see in Reshiram and Charizard decks. See my point here? It is very, very difficult to get a one-hit KO. I showed you Rillaboom VMAX in the previous video, and I said I love the amount of damage it can do. I said it could do 280 damage, and that is great. That's not enough to get a one-hit KO. This could cause a real issue for your opponent's Pokemon. Because you're doing as much damage as they did to you, but you're not getting one-hit KO'd. Because if they one-hit KO you, then it doesn't matter, you didn't take any damage last turn. Now, there is an outside chance the translation actually is the amount of damage they did to any of your Pokemon, but these attacks always work if this Pokemon took damage during your last turn, so I'm willing to bet that's the case here as well. It's always the way these attacks work. Now, in reality, your opponent is not going to chuck a giant attack into this. It's just not going to happen. In reality, what's actually going to happen is they're going to poke at it. So Reshiram and Charizard is going to sit there using Outrage for 30 damage, and then you'll hit them back for 60, but then they'll be able to outrage for 90, and then they'll hit you for 120, and so on and so forth. Okay, that's actually not too bad for the Reshiram and Charizard player. But what you're doing is you are forcing your opponent to poke you. You are forcing your opponent to use little attacks that they probably wouldn't choose to be using generally. You're making them choose to use suboptimal attacks. You are making them go, I'm going to use the attack I don't want to use. That's not a good thing. Or they'll bring out non-GXs like Volcanion and just try and do, say, 110. And then they'll finish you off later. I love this. This is really good, because either they hit you for good damage and you smash them back, or they don't hit you for good damage and then you just get a free hit on them. And at this point, it is very much worth mentioning Welder again. This is a 2 energy attack. You play Welder, you whack 2 energy on there. Oh, look, now you've got everything you need. And we probably do need to mention the second attack here. The second attack here is absolutely big. 3 energy, 170 damage plus burn. And the thing is, this isn't some gigantic uber attack. This isn't going to KO everything. Now, remember the newer, it's not really new anymore, but the newer burn rules, whereby you take 20 damage between turns if you've got a burned Pokemon, and then you flip a coin. If heads, you're no longer burned. So unless they've got a way to remove special conditions entirely, I'm looking at you, Galarian Rapidash, you're looking at 190 damage. Which isn't necessarily a huge amount of damage in today's format, but let's be clear, 190 for free energy is still good. Reshiram and Charizard's GX attack does 200 for free energy, and that's a once per game GX attack. Yes, I know they've then got the option of adding extra energy and doing extra damage, but as it stands, straight off the bat, that's not what they're actually doing. So, this is good. And you'll get a bunch of Pokemon here. You'll get Caldeo GX. Although that is going to see less and less play as Pokemon V get more and more prevalent. You'll get Blacephalon GX. You'll get Dedenne GX. You'll get Victini V. There's plenty you'll get here, but then there's plenty you won't. Now, of course, because you're hitting weakness against Zacian V, the best Pokemon in the format, so you'll do just brilliantly here in terms of getting a KO on Zacian V. But what if your opponent's got a Snorlax V in the active? Your opponent whacks a Snorlax V up, oh look. Now they've got 220 HP. You're not getting a KO on Snorlax V. Now, Snorlax VMAX generally hits a maximum 210. And actually, Snorlax VMAX is a great example here because they've only got one attack. So if they're attacking, they've got to use their main attack, which does 210 damage. Well, it does 60 damage base plus 30 more for each of their bench Pokemon. It doesn't have to do 210, but once they fill their bench, it's a little bit late to go back. And that's essentially the plan with Cinderace here. You hit 170 plus burn, and then if your opponent ever uses a big attack, you go and smash them right back. As a side note, while we're here with burn, we still actually have got Weller Volcano Park, which stops your opponent getting out of burn. And we do still have the Infernape, which turns burn from 2 damage counters into 6. And we do still have both the fighting and fire version of it, but I don't think anyone's going to be rushing out to use that right this second. The point I'm making is that you've got a nice pair of attacks here, and you've got to pick the right one at the right time, and you've got to be a bit careful you're doing it in the right way. But what we've basically got here is a Pokemon that does decent damage for low energy and then punishes you for trying to get a big attack. And that first attack on some Pokemon wouldn't be exciting. But on a Pokemon with 320 HP, where getting a one-hit KO, unless you're hitting for weakness, is just over the top difficult, I think we might actually have a really nice pair of attacks going on. So I'm going to go ahead and give this... I'm going to give it 4 Wassies, which seems a little bit generous. But I'm just going to go for it. And I'm going to forgive myself. But hey, maybe you disagree. Maybe you think it's not that good. Well, the good news is, ladies and gentlemen, we've got a comment section. And you can go and tell me in the comment section what you think about it. So go nuts in the comment section, but please do remember the rules. Be nice, would ya? And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where you can find out about a whole bunch of games that don't have Pokemon in, but are still awesome. And actually right now you can go and commiserate with me over there because they just ended Star Wars Destiny, and I'm still a little bit sad about it. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.